Morning, everyone. Morning.
Good morning. Well, more lunchtime, an unusual time for us to be
Afternoon.
here. 1:30. If you're new to this show, we're usually at 10 o'clock, Monday through to Friday. And then on Saturday, we have Saturday Moaning. And lovely to see our regulars. And if you're new, just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Notification bell. And then you'll always know when we're live and when we're talking about all kinds of things.
Before we crack on with the agenda, I just want to acknowledge in the chat room there, April Hill, one of our long-standing members, part of the community, had tragically passed away. I didn't see your message come in, Clodagh. We had such a stressful Christmas. I see that you messaged me on Instagram on the 27th. So sad, so sorry.
Yeah, sending our sympathies to her family and friends and loved ones.
April,
and,
she was a very vocal part of the community.
She was, yeah.
So
we're
thank you
sorry. Thank you for letting us know, Clodagh.
Absolutely.
And as we say, we are a good community here, and we love people sharing with us, and we love having discussions with people, but we always keep it polite and friendly. So today we are going to be talking about we're going to be talking about some personal stuff with us. Re-divorce day, because today is the day that most people approach family law firms, apparently inquiring about divorce after, I think a lot of people...
If I get a call, I do have to take it.
From your divorce lawyer?
Yeah.
I think often that's because people have buttoned up for the whole of Christmas, getting through Christmas. Morning, everybody. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about... We're steaming about STARMER, as usual. And the fact that he is so firmly sat on the fence, and new news just came in just before we went live. I'll share with you. We're also talking more about Trump. Now, listen, as Mark said this morning, the saying goes, if America sneezes, we all feel it. They are sneezing, gahomphing, coughing, flemming up. They're doing the works, and the world is feeling it, and we're going to feel it a lot more. And it is fascinating. It is terrifying. It's sometimes like watching a fucking movie, and you have to snap yourself out of it and say, this is not a movie, this is life. This is the world, and we all have to be plugged into it. He fancies Greenland, Colombia, Cuba, who knows what. He did just a few weeks ago say, I should be the leader of Europe. And the thing is about Trump is he tells us everything he's going to do.
Nobody's more upfront than me.
Yeah. Terrifying.
I mean, it's terrifying. We've got an enormous amount of clips, headlines, images, supporting content here. So apologies if I get any of the clips slightly wrong, but we have a lot of responses, comments from American leaders, Rubio, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Benjamin Netanyahu, the world's response to this. I'm calling it the annexation of Venezuela, because any other way of kind of shaping it, skinning it, describing it, and that's regardless of what you think of Maduro. I kept drawing the parallel over the weekend. If we're really in the business of legitimizing the annexation of a country because we don't like their leader, then we should annex Israel, we should annex America, and a lot of people would like us to annex this country. I mean, you can't use that as a spurious reason to annex a country. But is it annexation? And like Nadia said, we are furious, frustrated, and yet at the same time, Nadia was doing the very important thing that one has to do this morning, which is playing devil's advocate. On the one hand, I'm furious with STARMER. But as Nadia kept saying, can he and is he able to say anything else? And I think that's an interesting debate, because some world leaders have said different things. Everyone seems to be in agreement that Maduro, no one's crying over spilt milk with Maduro, the leader of Venezuela. But that's not the point. And that really has to not be the point, that just because we don't like a leader, you can go in and do it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whether it's an annexation, a commercial land grab, the beginning of a long line of possible invasions.
And what's the bare minimum we would have wanted STARMER to say? Let's just ask for the bare minimum. Let's start there. So what should we go to first?
Well, I always quite like just sort of starting off with a kind of mood board of images. Some smart asses very cleverly put Donald Trump in Maduro's outfit.
He is a convicted criminal himself, isn't he?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is someone has AI created Donald Trump in the same get-up, which incidentally, I noticed with this, Donald Trump in a sweat jacket and pants with sensory depriving glasses and
So
headphones.
much theatre.
So much theatre. But Nads, that's exactly what you bought me for Christmas.
I did something very similar.
This also made me the Foodist, another great account on Instagram. When it's Russia, it's an invasion. When it's Palestine, it's terrorism. When America does it, it's intervention. And when Israel does it, it's self-defense.
That's a great one.
So just remember that, you know, the same actions.
That's a great one.
The same actions and the same
a different
international behavior of countries described in entirely different ways, depending on who you are, where you're from, and what your country
and
is.
Where your media swings.
Which way does your media swing, Nads?
Did you see?
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone saw and I didn't know whether it was real or not.
Love your vulva.
I didn't know whether it was real or not. That Madame
Maduro
him being driven through New York with the doors open.
I couldn't verify it, so I didn't pull it in.
I thought that couldn't possibly have been real.
Well, this is the idea that he was blue lit or red lit through New York to the courthouse, and the doors of the van were open
so you could see him. And I was like,
yeah.
But that's the problem now, is that everything is so ridiculous. The reality of it is so extreme that you look at AI stuff, and you genuinely don't know whether it's AI or whether it's real, because the lines are so blurred now, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that makes you pause for a moment, tragically, Jordan O'Sullivan, yes, April Hill has passed away. I didn't see the message from Clodagh over Christmas, and she let me know on the day after Boxing Day. So yeah, sorry about that, Jordan. I know a number of you guys you all have your own relationships and friendships too. So sorry if that's come as a shock to anyone. I realize. I think the reason I didn't bring in that clip, but then part of me thinks it could well be real, is there seems to be a real kind of passion for showing images of Maduro moving from every part of New York to every next part of New York.
Well, that's why I thought maybe it could be true, because they are because they're so deranged, this administration, and so thug-like and so dictatorship. You know, dictators are always sort of figures of, they're always ludicrous to me, dictators. Is there such a word as ludicrosity to them?
Like ludicrosity.
Ludicrosity to them, you know, in their demands, you know, like divas, in the theatre or divas in the movie one. They want this, they want to be carried, and they want, you know, they want milk baths, you know, go back to Cleopatra. There's always something very ludicrous about them.
Yes.
And this administration is that on crack. And so it is, to me, totally believable that they would want to parade him through the streets of New York.
Yeah, I find it really quite
Why did he need the goggles on? I mean, that's theatre.
Yeah.
That is theatre. There is no other reason for that than theatre and humiliation.
Yeah.
And that in itself is against international law. You're not supposed to humiliate prisoners, are you?
No, absolutely.
And we know that's well and truly.
And well, here are some of the headlines running through all of the world's press this morning. Maduro to appear in US court as emboldened Trump threatens other countries after Venezuela strikes. This meme this image here, this headline, China tells the US to release Maduro immediately.
What does that mean? Or have they got an or else?
Well, this is the point. So I understand it. Nadia's always kind of remonstrating with me about this. You know, for a lot of people, international global politics isn't everyone's cup of tea. For some people, they feel ill-equipped, they feel unaware, they feel it's too complicated.
They feel embarrassed that they don't know enough.
But also, I think a huge swathe of people just aren't interested, and that's okay too. But this becomes interesting when you know that it has a huge domino effect. I personally, and I'm just going to throw my personal opinion on this event.
Go on then.
Alongside,
hit us with your rhythm stick, baby.
You know, we know the implications and the ramifications of Gaza, but the reason I sadly have always said I don't think there will be a judgment day for anyone is because of the endemic racism, the endemic corruption, and the total complicitness of too many senior governments and Western leaders and press. So it's not that it should, and it's not that we shouldn't stop campaigning for people to be held accountable, but look at how slowly the ICC is going about the arrest. It's not. This incident is the next step towards
breaking down law.
What's it? In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. This next step, this moment is the beginning, I think, of a major different new chapter in global politics.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Gaza symbolized a total moral fracturing of humanity and
breakdown of international law, disrespect for it.
Yeah, but so many people still seem to circumnavigate around that, even now that this has happened with Venezuela. There's the exceptionalism for Israel is flabbergasting. It's staggering how everyone, STARMER and everyone, when STARMER said at the end of his fucking mealy-mouthed quote with Sky News or whoever, you know how much we stand by international law.
No, you don't. No, we don't. No, you don't. I mean, Israel, it feels like they were the canary that was sent down the mines.
Absolutely.
Oh, like they got away with everything. Come on, all the doors are open. But of course, those are all open to all kinds of people.
And some are saying that Venezuela,
they are
all literally watching the world, waiting to see what the response is like.
Yeah.
And people are probably sitting there going, well, what does Colombia matter? Why does Cuba matter? Why does Mexico? Well, wait and see.
Why it's so important.
It will matter because basically everyone, all the major superpowers, and even China and Russia are now becoming, this is the weirdest situation in all of it. China and Russia are sounding like
the
voices of reason and restraint. Which the only reason that sounds ridiculous is because potentially of the propaganda we've been force-fed for years.
Yeah.
So we're in deeply dangerous territory here, and Trump and his cronies are waiting to see whether the world comes down on them hard, which is what makes STARMER's response really important, Europe's response important, because I think we are limited, but at the same time, we're almost at a point, I'd say, where we're limited in what we can do that's best for our country, let's say. But we are so at the end of a conveyor belt of morality that unless you're actually willing to just say, hang on a minute, I can't take this anymore. This is unforgivable. You may as well be tipping off the end of that conveyor belt anyway. You may as well be occupied. You may as well be occupied by a foreign state if you can't actually say to Donald Trump, this isn't right. And that's my view.
And he's not given even the most banal, really, of statements, has he? The mildest of statements. He hasn't, anything.
STARMER.
Yeah, he's nothing sort of against what Trump has done.
Let me show this.
Far, right?
When you go to STARMER's X account, he still has as his second post. His most recent post is this. The UK has long supported a transition of power in Venezuela. We regarded Maduro as an illegitimate president, and we shed no tears about the end of his regime.
Well, it's not, though, the end of his regime, is it? Because everyone else is still in place. It's just him.
I reiterated my support for international law this morning in his interview. The UK,
just like you've reiterated it for the Palestinians, because you don't give a damn about international law there.
The UK government will discuss the evolving situation. It's evolved, STARMER. It's evolved. He's in court. If you haven't got the facts yet, STARMER, because he keeps saying, until we've got full facts and I've spoken to all my allies, we have all the facts. We have them. They're there. The UK government will discuss the evolving situation with US counterparts if Trump picks up the phone to you in the days ahead as we seek a safe and peaceful transition to a legitimate government that reflects the will of the Venezuelan people. Now, the worry I have with this legitimate democratic government of Venezuela is that the woman incoming who won the Nobel Peace Prize seems to think Benjamin Netanyahu is Cliff Richard. She's completely compromised and a paid up Zionist. The idea that the only other option for Venezuela is someone who is entirely favorable to Israel strikes me, call me old fashioned, as a bit strange. After Netanyahu was dancing away at the Mar-a-Lago. Does anyone else think there's potentially any connection there whatsoever? But this was STARMER's original quote. You've seen it. I don't think Nadia has seen it in full.
Spoken to Donald Trump about what's happened in Venezuela?
No, I haven't, and it's obviously a fast-moving situation, and we need to establish all the facts.
We know the facts.
What I can say is that the UK was not involved in any way in this operation.
Right, let me just pause for a second there. What? No one thought you were involved. No one. Does anyone else still find it really strange that on 2 occasions in this soundbite he says we weren't involved? He said not let the lady doth protest a little bit too much.
We're focusing on British nationals in Venezuela and working very closely with our embassy, and so I will want to talk to the president. I will want to talk to allies, but at the moment, I think we need to establish the facts. I think President Trump is doing a press conference later, so hopefully more information will come out then.
What is clear, though, which the White House has said, is that America carried out strikes on Venezuela and captured their leader, Maduro. Some politicians in this country have already condemned that. Do you?
Well, I want to establish the facts first.
We know the
facts.
I want to speak to allies.
They don't want to talk to you.
That we were not involved in that.
No one said you were.
As you know, I always say and believe we should all uphold international law.
What about Palestine?
Apart from Palestine.
What about Palestine? What about Palestine? What about Palestine?
So there are
what about Palestine?
Yeah, exactly.
What about Palestine? You're meaningless to us. You're meaningless to us. We have no respect.
Dead eyes.
When you say international law, we do not respect you.
Dead eyes. Anyway, just
we do not feel safe with you in charge.
Now, the reason I've used that piece of sync on 2 or 3 different Coffee Moanings or lives now is because he's offered nothing else. I have got a very brief clip somewhere.
He's waiting for it all to pass. That's what he does.
He's waiting for his allies to call him. No one wants to call him.
He'll be very crystal clear in a minute.
He wants the facts. Jesus Christ, of all the stories to have come out of America, I've never seen America deliver all the facts of what
everyone's seen the videos.
We know what's happening. So there's no secrecy here, Keir. You know, you can tell us what you think. But anyway, this meme particularly amused me. This is an image of Putin talking to his generals. Why didn't we just kidnap Zelensky and say we're running Ukraine from now on? For fuck's sake.
Well, this is what happens when international law breaks down. It's open. It's what's it? Open space. No,
open season.
Open season for everybody.
I mean, come on.
I mean, when can we just?
Alison Barber. Britain was involved. The only thing he's telling us that we weren't involved.
Not involved.
So what? We were obviously involved in some spy intelligence.
Don't mention the Germans. So when China says what China has said, what does that mean?
Okay, a China delegation was there shortly before they came in and took Maduro, and we've got an incredibly arresting clip of the moment.
My God! Wait till you see this. It gave us goosebumps.
Literally gave me goosebumps of horror of an influencer on the ground in Venezuela when it happened. China had a delegation out there. A lot's been made of the idea that they were still in the room when it all happened. I don't think it was quite that close. But the worry from America is the similar worries, and not entirely dissimilar to what Putin's had with Ukraine, foreign influence from the other side of the world on our doorstep. So China, have a big deal with the oil. Russia, I think, had interest in the oil, but China much more so. And China are basically saying, China have demanded that America release Maduro now. I mean, you don't often get...
What does that mean? What's the threat? You can't say that without saying all else.
We don't know. That's the strength of diplomacy, isn't it? They are saying you need to release him now, and there needs to be no impact or compromising of the financial relationships we have with Venezuela and the oil. So we've heard nothing from it. We've heard nothing. So this is how things can domino quite quickly. This is the domino effect. And this is before we've even talked about, and we've got clips here of Donald Trump talking about, well, in alternate fashion, we talk about Cuba, Colombia, and Greenland. Oh, yeah. This is expansionist shit here. I just wanted to move through these. Donald Trump, Owen Jones says, Donald Trump is so obviously going to annex Greenland.
He said it. Of course, it's obvious because he said it. But as ever, people don't quite believe Trump when he says what he's going to do. Yeah. The fact that Steve Miller's wife posted a picture of Greenland and said soon just shows what a mess we're in.
Yeah.
His missus.
Yeah.
He's got involved. I mean, she is. Have you seen her on other podcasts? It's so embarrassing.
Yeah. And this is kind of going off.
They're all war crazy.
They're all war crazy. Everything, really, the headline here is nothing is as it ever seems. Everyone is cutting deals in the background. Dmitry makes a strong point there, which is, China needs to be seen to be saying something.
Yeah.
But
hopefully that's all it's going to do.
Into anything else?
They're not going to. Yeah, they're not going to go to war.
Yeah, China doesn't need to annex Taiwan. China controls the South Seas. That's good enough for China. I mean, I do wonder, under what conditions, Dmitry, do you feel that we could tip towards a much bigger global conflict? Where do you see? Because almost every single catastrophe or crisis that emerges it feels like there could be a way of just talking oneself out of it and lowering it, which is what one hopes. But
is it a Cuba moment?
But is there not
somebody round the back somewhere having a good conversation to just calm this all the fuck down?
But isn't there a point at which it all gets a little bit kind of worrying that America controls everything? This is a sidebar. The only reason I'm going to this is it's so arresting and so dramatic, you'll be shocked. Mike Pompeo was Donald Trump's Secretary of State, wasn't he, when in his first administration? He posted this on X, and this just is reaching out again, because Iran was a kind of ally of Venezuela too. But look at this statement from Mike Pompeo. The Iranian regime is in trouble, bringing in mercenaries as its last best hope. I can't believe he said that. Riots in dozens of cities. 47 years of this regime. POTUS 47, President of the United States 47, coincidence. Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets, also to every Mossad agent walking beside them. He has literally, Mike Pompeo, told us that many, if not all, of the demonstrations in Iran are accompanied with Mossad agents.
So why would he have said that?
Because these people are so preened up and
cocksure that they
about
can just
their
say
righteousness that they don't mind saying it.
Bloody hell.
And yet, like I said there,
wow, so he's doing it like, and all the Mossad, that they're supporting them and helping them.
So,
wow.
You know, these are, and Mike Pompeo, you know, he's got over 1.6 million. These are previous secretaries of state for America. They're tied in indelibly with the structures of American governance. So when you see these marches and these demonstrations, it's not to say that there isn't a kernel of truth in all of them. But just know that Mossad are there fanning the flames, nudging it the way they want it to go, manipulating
all over the world, doing
of
things like that. Yeah. Look at is that
passive aggressive?
No, Lady Speedwell, just there.
I know one thing: UK will be on the wrong side. Fucking hell, he always is, isn't he?
Hello.
Hello.
Remember, we fell over. Hello.
Let's have a little bit of light relief. This is Rory Bremner, who's a great comedian and impersonator.
God, he's so good. He's such a lovely man.
Really lovely man.
Folks, it's the Donald here. Donald J. Trump. You know what the J stands for? Genius, right? And today, I can confirm that I have gone full Caracas. I've gone totally Caracas. We've taken out the president of Venezuela, President Manjaro. And, you know, I don't believe in regime change except in Venezuela, maybe in Iran, and possibly Greenland. Look out for that, folks. But it's like they say, you can't win a Nobel Peace Prize without starting the odd war. It's like, you know, you can't make an omelet without breaking wind. And that's what we're doing. So Happy New Year, and watch this space.
He's so
brilliant.
Good. Manjaro.
Absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. So let's just unpack a few more. So just the jingoism and the bellicose, rabid, saber rattling and all these kind of phrases. You can let her out because Toffee's not. This is Marco Rubio sharing his thoughts on Cuba.
The Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary?
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
is that a yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire, internal security force, his internal security apparatus is entirely controlled by Cubans. One of the untold stories here is how, in essence, you talk about colonization, because I think you said Dulce Rodriguez mentioned that. The ones who have sort of colonized, at least inside the regime, are Cubans. It was Cubans that guarded Maduro. He was not guarded by Venezuelan bodyguards. He had Cuban bodyguards. In terms of their internal intelligence, who spies on who inside to make sure there are no traitors, those are all Cubans.
Can I just ask?
Sorry, I didn't really understand what
No, he's basically saying Cuba is a basket case and they should watch out. The inference in his language is basically, we're going to go for them. This is alleged. Some have made much of the idea that Marco Rubio had some white powder around his nose on a particular press conference. A huge number, I think, I'm not suggesting for a minute that Hegseth has ever taken a narcotic. Far from it, any of them. But there is there's a vein-like look to a forehead that sometimes screams it. I just wonder whether we're going to get certain figures in American society of a certain echelon, I wonder where they're going to get their drugs from now. Maybe they can just get it so freely because they control the ports. Marjorie,
not that any of them have ever done
not that any of them have ever taken drugs.
No.
I want to see domestic policies that prioritizes jobs and affordable housing for Americans after 4 disastrous years of the Biden administration. And I want to see domestic priorities that put Americans first in regards of health care. Health insurance costs too much, car insurance, home insurance. And these are issues that matter to Americans. We don't consider Venezuela our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is right here in the 50 United States, not in the Southern Hemisphere.
And just so you know, so how is this America first? Well, Donald Trump tried to deal with that by saying we want a friendly neighborhood around us, and we don't want people dying of drugs. Lindsey Graham.
But what about the guy that he took out of the prison that was done?
Exactly.
I mean, it just stop saying that. Nobody believes you that this is about drugs.
Exactly.
Very sick too. Run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long.
So he's going to go for Colombia, Lindsey Graham.
Commander-in-Chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
Oh, God. Do you think he's just come out of the toilet with him where he's been licking his actual arsehole?
That's an image one wants to conjure.
That is arsehole licking like I've never seen.
Well, he's really popped his tongue.
I've never seen before. Nothing has ever been as before, as brilliant as before.
Do you think he said to Trump, pucker up?
Oh, I do.
Do you?
Yes, that was very, very, very unpleasant.
So Cuba, Colombia, let's just add to the list. Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security.
Yeah, we need it.
Not for minerals. We have so many things for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need it for national security. We have to have it.
We have to have it. The spoiled little baby boy brought up by the multi-millionaires who never had to fucking actually do anything to have money in his pocket. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want that one. Oh my good God, help us.
There's an image of Maduro, Venezuela.
Don't forget, he bankrupted a casino. It's impossible to bankrupt a casino.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Venezuela, China. These are just all the headlines running at the moment. Hands off Venezuelan oil and release Maduro, China tells Trump. Let's hope, as MeTube says, this is merely the words of diplomacy. Greenland tells US to end annexation threats. That's enough now. And actually, on that note, I think Starmer grabbed for a Vox Pop shortly before we went live, said this.
And it's for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. And it's for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark only. Mm-hmm. Denmark is a close ally of the United Kingdom in Europe and a close ally in NATO. And so it's very important we stand by our ally and very clear about the future of Greenland.
And that's your message to Donald Trump as well when you speak to him next?
It's my consistent message in relation to Greenland. And so that's not a new position. It is the future for Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. They are a European ally, they're a NATO ally, and we stand with Denmark.
Oh, that's good.
No, that was clear.
That
was clear. So I kind of felt a little bit refreshed by that. And then I saw that if the United Nations brings a resolution forward criticizing America's abduction of Maduro, and invasion and attack of Venezuela, the UK is going to abstain from the vote. So the UK has announced that it will abstain from any vote. Number 10 suggests...
He must be done up like a kid to abstain from that.
Downing Street lobby briefings, the PM spokesman did not contest the Times report claiming that if the UN Security Council votes on a resolution criticizing the US intervention in Venezuela, the UK will abstain.
So he hasn't said that. He just hasn't denied it when the time
which means it's the case. The spokesperson confirmed that Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, will make a statement to MPs this afternoon. Okay, well look, let's get to the meat. Let's get to the meat and veg of this. So Donald Trump could take everywhere and go anywhere. Putin's looking almost enviably so. You were, I think, pushing back this morning very strongly because you were like, well, look, what can he do? What do we say? Because
we're in a very weak position.
And what is one's frustration with him? Is the frustration one of with him, or is our frustration one of just our completely compromised position?
I think it's when he throws around how much he respects international law, and we know we haven't witnessed that. So that feels he can be very strongly spoken on that, but then be very weak in other places. And so we were looking around what other countries, what other European countries or any have actually said, what's the strongest we could hope for? Because of course, we have to be realistic here. They are the biggest bully boys in the playground, and they can just come and kick sand in any of our faces, any other country. That's where we are. He rules the world, does he not?
Yes.
So, is Starmer just, we have no idea what the threats are behind closed doors from Trump to this country, this wee little country that stands on its own, not part of Europe anymore. How tiny a boy is he in the playground?
Well, I think my frustration, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I mean, Nigel Farage used the phrase, what was the phrase that he used? I told you earlier.
Yeah,
Nigel Farage, it was an
unorthodox.
Yeah. The way Trump's gone about this is unorthodox. I think, okay.
But in that is total accept. When he says unorthodox, so wow, he's crazy. He can do things out of the norm, unorthodox. It's not in any way criticized.
It's almost admiring.
Absolutely. I think it's admiring.
I do feel, though, it does feel like we, more than anywhere else, are more compromised and more under the boot. And I think that's got to be, again, tied up with Brexit and our outsideness with Europe.
What's Badencock said?
But it was Badencock. Oh, Badenoch, sorry. She said the same as Starmer. So Iran has said that this was a flagrant violation of the country's national sovereignty. Brazil said that the actions cross an unacceptable line, adding that attacking countries in flagrant violation of international law is the first step toward a world of violence, chaos and instability. Colombian president, not surprisingly, called it an assault on sovereignty. Cuban president, not surprisingly, called it a criminal attack. Spain has been very outspoken.
Spain is just wonderful. Look how outspoken they've been about Palestine is what I love.
I believe Ireland has been outspoken. But I think one of the things...
But France, Germany, are they all the same as Starmer? They've just all said nothing.
Leap here, you're absolutely right. Trump will love being described as unorthodox. He loves it.
It's a compliment.
Well, no, but the interesting thing is, I think a lot of what seems to be a complete constant around the world, bar countries like Colombia, etc., is everyone saying Maduro wasn't a good egg. Okay, so, but we have to resist tirelessly the temptation to keep dragging us back to that as some kind of sanctioning of something that actually is deeply destabilizing and sets a worrying precedent, which is just going in and just regime changing and taking out a leader, whatever. If we did that again, I keep saying it, if we did it because we didn't like a leader, there's a compelling argument to do the same to Trump. There's a compelling argument to do the same, very much so, to Netanyahu. So does that mean that if, say, Colombia decides, right, we're going to send a SWAT squad to Israel and we're going to get him out because he's a wanted war criminal, let's take him out? I mean, these are the
all bets are off now, aren't they? Because the rest of the world is standing by again, saying nothing.
Yes.
So, good and bad actors around the globe will be watching this and saying, well, if it's okay for you, then it's okay for me. Absolutely. How can Starmer go to any other countries with any sort of message of diplomacy or democracy when it all looks like such a joke now?
Absolutely. But I do think it does feel like there isn't. So let's say put to one side the Maduro thing. I don't think you're going to anger. I don't think you're compromising your country's kind of, ability to kind of have a relationship with America. If you say, do you know what? We don't agree with this. I mean, I think you can say that. You can say, we believe this breaks international law. We need to find a different, rather than talking about the after the event, which is what Zach Polanski of the Green Party said. It's like, now we're talking about how we can make sure there's a democratic. But this isn't the way to go about creating a situation. You've got to allow a country its own methodology. Well, saying that we're essentially we're kind of giving a soft pass to the act of violence in order to talk about a better future for Venezuela.
Yeah.
Well, we could argue that without Trump, there's a much better future for America. So once again, I put to you, does that mean...
The regime is still in place, isn't it? That's the other thing. You're just taking one man out. It doesn't work like that. You just slot one man out.
Yeah. Hillary Porter says, our PM must not abstain. Trump has crossed yet another red line, and we cannot as a country shame ourselves by abstaining whatever the long-term cost to our country. We want to be an honourable nation.
Well, that's what I feel, Hillary, but I suppose we don't really know what the long-term cost is because we don't know what the threats are. What are the threats?
Well, tariffs, lack of trade, lack of support, I mean, we are so utterly compromised.
Isolated.
And we are actually in the hands of, just because he's the leader of America, he's as bad a dictator as Putin. If forever and a day we kept hearing from so many kind of people like Boris Johnson, we must not appease Putin, appeasement leads to more bullying. Well, we are all appeasing Trump.
And the Democrats, Jesus Christ, where are you? What are you going to do with that madman?
Concrete island. With the exception of Spain, Europe has been so wet on this.
Yeah. What about Italy? Because Italy's been strong.
If there is no human empathy for those subjected to aggression, then the leaders, including Badenoch, are psychopathic.
Yeah.
Annexe Saudi Arabia. That's not a democracy.
Yeah.
And all these so-called democracies aren't really democracies. Let's get off that bloody nonsense. This was quite, again, Fibby McFibface. If you haven't followed him, please do, or her. They posted this. This is on me with a crayon on the left, Putin on the right, and then Xi. No, it's China. Xi. That's pretty much the superpowers' foreign policy. Shall we pull in that clip of the guy who showed us the light situation in Venezuela?
Yeah.
Check this out. This is really arresting.
I think when Donald Trump said this.
Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
It sounds like what he's saying is the United States has the capability of turning off the lights for 1.9 million people in a large Latin American country like that. And of course, I wouldn't believe it if there wasn't a video.
Y después van hacia arriba. ¿Sí? Si es por parte de su madre o parte... Boludo, se cortó la luz.
What this tells me is Nicolas Maduro was literally in the dark in his fortress. He probably couldn't find his way to the safe room without lights. It's also why he probably wasn't able to close it. He was feeling around, probably looking for the lever to pull it closed. Couldn't find it.
I mean, that's how close Maduro was.
Imagine all of those individuals, the woman that's giving birth, the elderly person that's being lifted, the people that are driving, a toddler that's run off and you can't find... You do that to 1.9 million people, just plunge them into darkness. If that's true, if that is true, that's barbarism.
Yeah, it's terrorism. That is terrorism. Because
you have incited terror in 1.9 million people.
Yeah,
if that's true. Do you think it is?
Yeah, absolutely. This is quite funny. I mean, when I was a kid, I never understood how the Holocaust could have happened. How could nobody have tried to stop it before it got out of hand? I understand perfectly now. Yeah. And this that Miss Anne posted just earlier, just before we went live, what I most love about this Venezuela event, says Michael Rosen, is hearing Western politicians and commentators like STARMER struggling with the fact that all their training and education taught them that Western politicians are not gangsters, racketeers, and criminals. I just thought that was so telling. Okay, well, yeah, watch this space. I don't think it's over by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
And 80 people were killed. I think between 40 and 80 people were killed in the assault.
And we never hear about the people that get injured that die a bit later, do we? A couple of days later.
No, absolutely.
Or the mental health impact on people, Yeah.
And just briefly, before we move on to the divorce topic, I just want to say, obviously, we've been huge advocates and continue to be advocates for Gaza. I just thought, usually when a conflict like this or something like this happens on the world stage, lots of people aren't looking at what's going on in Gaza. And so I always counterintuitively tend to go right over to Al Jazeera, Middle East Eye, and have a look at the news over there. And these are the 4 headlines this morning. Israel extends Gaza occupation beyond the yellow line in north as it bombs the south.
This is a ceasefire.
Security risk. Israel says Gaza media ban needs to stay in place despite ceasefire. At least 5 dead in Gaza overnight, bombed in, there's a ceasefire, and Lebanon as Trump's ceasefire is once again violated.
And
Israel
can I say
launches
again,
deadly strikes in Gaza and new ceasefire violations. That's just overnight.
And these are just the bombs, not the people that are bleeding out, not the people that have got sepsis from vile, brutal amputations, not the children that, even though they have passed to leave the country, are dying from liver failure and heart disease and all these other things. The deaths are every single day. We're not seeing those numbers. Please hit the subscribe button because it helps get these videos out to more people. People are forgetting about Gaza, and it's a horror story that is a stain on humanity till the end of time.
And I would recommend to everyone, you're not going to be suddenly having a knock on your door because you're watching a website called Al Jazeera, at least not yet, until maybe reform get in. Every day, just as a matter of course, when you're getting your daily news, just go online and just click on Middle East Eye and Al Jazeera just to see what the latest news is. You'll be staggered because it doesn't look entirely dissimilar to the news we've had over the last 2 years. It's just that the world has lost interest, moved away. It's perhaps not the numbers.
There was a big piece of theatre with the ceasefire and Trump doing his big speech. It's the same. It's the same,
absolutely.
So should we have a little brevity?
Yes, what would you like
as
me to
we
go
move
for?
into our, today is the big divorce day, the first Monday of January is the day most people apply to law firms or inquire about divorce. So why don't we start with the flip-flops?
The flip-flops, yeah, absolutely. And then I've got Liz Taylor lined up. This is very funny. When you have to borrow your husband's flip-flops to take out
and why this made me laugh
garbage.
is, obviously we're in and out a lot because of the puppy, and Mark's always got his, what are they? Crocs there, and I put them on the other day, and I was literally going down the. I thought I'm going to break my ankle because I've put these shoes on that are 5 times too big for me, but it did make me laugh.
I don't know what's funnier, you wearing those or me trying
to wear mine,
to wear your Birkenstocks that are like razor blades at the best of time. But
can you tell me where the Wellington boots have gone?
Yeah, back in the cupboard.
No, they haven't. Not the short ones. Everyone keeps saying that.
This isn't a conversation.
The short Wellington boots.
No, they're back in the cupboard. I saw them this morning.
No, it is because it's about marriage.
Okay. Should we play Liz Taylor as well? There's a little bit of. Does this need teeing up?
No.
No. Okay. Just going to crash straight in.
You knew what a frightful girl I was when you married me. I did not deceive you, sir. From the very first moment, I couldn't have been more unpleasant. Anyway, you're stuck with me.
Oh, it's really quite sinister, isn't it? That man has nothing to say. All he's doing is holding a door up.
And I think that would be where we would start with our marriage, is that we got married within 3 months of knowing each other. We couldn't have known anything about each other, really.
No, I mean, nothing. When people get together, have sex, kiss, get married, they know nothing. They know nothing.
Well, no, there's lots of people that know a lot, and there's a lot around online these days about the sort of questions you should ask. And I think some of it is too much, but I think some of it is really important. Things like, if we were to have children, how would we bring those children up? We had I mean, I'd seen what you were like as a dad, but, like, if you suddenly discover that your partner is one that wants to give a good slap to your child or wants to put them in another room for a long period of time, if they're not, all of that, a marriage cannot survive that. No. And many people don't have that kind of conversation or think it will all be all right in the end, I'll talk them round. I don't think you fundamentally change people. And I think all the troubles that we've had in our marriage, I think because fundamentally we have the same moral code and we have the same...
we have a sense of fairness.
That's what's got us through very, very difficult times. And we always say we hate the thought of people saying, oh, wow, you just got such a perfect marriage, you two. because we don't, because I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect marriage. A perfect marriage is an imperfect marriage. That's what I would say. And with Divorce Day, I would say, unless you are with a brutal, you know, as somebody that is just not willing to communicate with you at all, because that's a very different thing. If somebody is like totally shut down and will not communicate with you, that's very, very hard to recover from. But we were, each time we went to a couples counsellor, we felt really like our communication was just completely out and completely gone. But there was still a willingness to try and make it work. And it did help. Even the bad marriage guidance counsellors did help, because I think there's something about, like when you've got two dogs, they say send them both to the dog groomers together because it helps bond them. And sometimes when you go to a bad marriage guidance counsellor, it can actually bring you closer together. One of them,
right,
we came
yes.
away, gosh, we don't like her.
Yes, we bonded.
And we realised
we deeply bonded over how appalling this therapist was.
Yeah, but
thank you, Lee Durham. That's very funny. Lee just says, when I worked for one law firm, in the days of faxes, they would go mad at this time of year with faxes regarding divorce, so much so that we would have one person dedicated to the fax machine.
Really?
Wow, that's quite
well,
great.
I posted about this under
because it is Divorce Day, by the way.
It is Divorce Day. Yeah, no, I said the first Monday of January. But I mean, if anybody, like, people were under my Instagram saying, oh, I'd like to ask some things. So if there's anybody that wants to ask anything about how we came back from the brink, feel free to ask now. But something I did want to throw into the room. Oh, did you want to read, Reece?
Yeah, no, I just thought this was interesting and sweet, but also I think speaks to a truth. I also think you both share an invested interest in each other's passions and dreams. And I often think one of the marriage breakdowns is a loss of mutual interest in each other's dreams and ambitions.
Yeah.
I would say, on the one hand, I would say yes. And on the other, I would say it's also about expectations. I would argue, as we've got older and together and we have a lot of shared passions and we're on the same page, parenting and politics. And I think we've kind of got we've parted waters somewhat in terms of a passion for cultural activities and things like that, which is a very important thing for both of us, but in different ways. But I think it's about retraining myself to think, well, maybe one doesn't have everything in one's marriage. Maybe one doesn't have, you don't connect over it. I'd love to be able to talk to Nadia a bit more about films, but it's just not going to happen. And it's just, unless it's something we've seen together and we're reviewing it. And I'm just using that as a very kind of small example. But yes, we do. She respects my passions and I respect her passions, but it's not, we don't necessarily connect as much as I think we used to actually on those things.
I think it's the same.
Do you?
I think that we just allow less time to go out and do things.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I force myself to get stuff. I mean, and also that's the great thing about the movie side of the channel. I mean, I'm seeing stuff. But but you're right. In essence, our hearts totally love it it's like when Nadia yesterday, I won't go into the details of it, but when I heard, I knew that she saw the sea and one of my girls.
Well,
said,
basically, I went to Hove
moment
to see the Kaz and Tits, so it was the three of us. It was the first time without Hannah since she died. And I was talking to Maddie on the phone as I got out of the cab, and then I was walking down the road, and then...
and it was really sweet because Maddie got a bit distressed. She said, oh, Dad, Mum's suddenly crying. And she's like, the phone was gone dead. And I said, don't worry, sweetie. I said, it'll be one of two things. She'll have seen the colour of the sky and she'll see the sound and the look of the sea. That will have broken her.
Yeah,
and I said, or she'll have seen Kaz, his crazy face, or Helen's.
No,
and then of course I saw Maddie go, oh yeah, no, you're right, absolutely. Because of course it's so important for you. And it was nice knowing, I knew that at that moment, Nads was where she absolutely had to be.
Yeah. It's very hard, but you can't stay with someone when you're both miserable. I felt more alone with my ex than I was without him. Exactly. I think there is a point where a relationship is just dead, right? But I would say I have felt that in this marriage at times, and Mark has vice versa. We've just thought, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I literally can't do this anymore. And I've said this before, we've both said this before, if we hadn't have had Maddie, we wouldn't have stayed together. We would have both stormed off and walked away.
Yeah.
Because
And gone and made the same mistake again.
And gone and made the same mistake somewhere else. That's the point. And I think, you know, we both agree that with one of our couples counsellors that said what people don't realise is that often in a marriage, you're trying to fix the anxiety that was within the relationships you were growing up around when you were a child, whether that be with step parents, whether that be in a single. So you take it into a marriage and subconsciously you're trying to work out that shit that you were like exposed to as a child. And I think there's a lot in that. Mark's insecurity around it. So like a lot of our fights would, you know what, we would argue and it would be so much worse because Mark would think that this is over and I'm going to walk away. And I would think, why wouldn't he just fold on this and like we just get on with the rest of the day? But for him, the rest of the day would feel like anything was going to happen, that insecurity. So if I grew up in a house where people would argue and then they would be fine, you know, an hour or so later. But Mark grew up in a family where there would be an argument and there would be devastation, you know, I mean, there would be horrendous consequences. So a row for him was very frightening, but also there was a connection. So if we were both screaming at each other, it was like weird for him. It was like almost like a boil had been burst so he could feel better. So we would both get to a place of screaming and shouting, but we'll have come from different directions. Now, if we hadn't spoken to someone outside of our marriage and helped us see that, we would have just continued on and on and on. And the thing is, marriage guidance counsellors, they're either expensive or there's a long waiting list. And I'm not a great believer in like online therapy or anything like that. But there are really good podcasts. There are really good steps out there that you could take, that you could think about, and different ways to communicate. Like I've said here many times, we've learned not to go, you've made me feel like this, you've done this, and those simple shifts into saying, I'm left feeling like this. I'm left feeling like this. Because then you take out the, you know, but I think what happens a lot in marriages, and it's kind of more dangerous sometimes than the arguing. And I felt that sometimes with us, when you just don't bother. You just... Like, I don't like it when I just, like, I'm in my own head and I just go, well, there's no point saying that to Mark. There's no point. And you will have it in your head where you say, well, there's no point because I know where that's going to end up. And I think that's you know, if there's somebody listening here and they're more in the beginning or a middle of a relationship and they're feeling that, really pay attention to that, because that can be so damaging because you start to isolate within a marriage. And you start to say, well, I'll avoid that one and I won't talk about that one. And that one always ends up in an argument. Or that one will end up in an argument, or we have a discussion and I'll still walk away feeling unheard. And we will both equally think that and feel that many times within our marriage, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to say thanks. Michelle Nye says your marriage podcast is so helpful. And I do think there's a lot here to kind of go into more detail about on a marriage podcast. I do, you're right. And I do think we both do acknowledge that, this idea of you made me feel like this or you made me do that. I do think, and this isn't a criticism of you, but I do think in kind of, when I say progressive, I mean households or families where you haven't got a misogynistic, demonstrative male who believes certain roles and and all that. You know, you've got a free thinking feminist with a small f in his mind. I would say I believe in equality and I believe in balance and I want to help. I've got daughters and But I think sometimes in a household where that's the case, like this one and others, there is sometimes an inclination to say that the bloke has caused more issues. There's a bit of a pass on that, like, actually, no, you did cause that. And I sometimes find that there can be a creep in that. There can be a bit of overgrowth. I think and it has to be accepted. If you're the only man, right down to the dogs, you're the only male in the house, there's very little room or validation I can find anywhere in the family to explain a male take. I don't mean a demonstrative, controlling, horrible negativities of patriarchy.
But male perspective.
But just a male perspective.
Well, just men and women are very fucking different.
Men deal with things differently.
It's just very different.
And not all of them are bad.
We're not only talking about heterosexual relationships, of course, here. It's the same. It can be.
Maybe says I'm with a Scorpio, so that's how we could both say
we're
that.
both Scorpio. Yeah. You know, it's hard Mark grew up with, within, his mother's gay. And so he grew up around gay relationships. And he said, don't, all the problems were there for the same power struggles and everything. So it's about knowing, it's about sometimes just really, really, as hard as it is, stepping into the other person's shoes and looking at it, really looking at it from the other side.
But that's
so hard.
I think that's and I think the way you've said that is so true. I think sometimes when you are the minority gender in a household, it's really hard to see anyone else trying to step in your shoes at all. And I mean that in the nicest way. I don't mean there's no major problem here, but sometimes I'll see a situation and my approach to, say, a troubleshooting situation might be different, might be a bit more urgent or be a bit more male, but that's okay. I'm male. And I don't think sometimes there is an attempt to go, oh, well, maybe he just, the kind of constant pecking away at the fact that he's like that is a bit tiresome.
Yeah, I think within a family, one can do that. One can bully is too strong a word, but you can lose sense of how that things can be hurtful. So say if everybody says to me the same thing every time I do such and such, and all the family laughs, or vice versa.
And you've said that
with Mark, and all the family laugh, and it's all very jolly. But that can eat away privately in a person, and they can start to become a bit quieter, and a bit quiet. Well, I won't. Okay, so this is that scenario where this is going to happen. So I'll just quieten down a bit. I think when we've been most in danger is when I think the worst thing is when you've been through a massive row, you've had a talk after the row, and you both know you've totally compromised, because then you both walk in opposite directions, not feeling any better. But it's that point where you've had to agree to disagree because you cannot reach the other person. And I find that so hard. The other thing I've always found really hard in marriage, and somebody was saying this the other day in Loose Women, one of the meetings we were talking about, and saying, I hate it when I'm rushed into an apology or rushed into moving on, because the other person, and that can be a really difficult thing if the other person goes, well, I just want it to be all okay now. And it's like, well, you can't. It's really difficult when you're living with someone and you're still wounded by something, and people have different points of healing, don't they, within arguments?
No, I agree. But also people have different periods of time needed to cool off and recover from an argument. But also, depending on what the argument's about, if it's a particularly one that doesn't feel particularly significant, say, to you, but has actually cut fucking deeply for me, it's going to take me longer. And I do think sometimes there is that sort of, I call it the Nazi parlor games idea of, come on, you wanted to hold a grudge? No, I'm not really not wanting to hold a grudge. I'm literally trying to kind of get myself out of where I'm at. We had an interesting moment, which you're going to see in the last Vlogmas, because it caused an almighty kind of seismic disruption to set design. But there was a moment over Christmas where we had a row, and I felt when Nadia went off, and that's a very polite way of saying she stormed off, but when she left, I felt very aggrieved and annoyed. And Maddie was nearby, and I said to Maddie, I said, what was your take on that, what just happened? And I asked it without edge. I wasn't like, oh, I feel da-da-da. Don't you think? I wasn't leading. I said, what was your take on that? Because I genuinely didn't want a row. I wanted it to stop, and I wanted a fair assessment. And she gave me a fair assessment. And she said, Dad, you're an absolute fucking idiot about this, that, and the other. And I went, tell me more. And she said, well, because, Mum was saying this and Mum did this. And so it wasn't just a headline. And I went, you're absolutely right. She was absolutely right. She was absolutely right. So I do think if you're in a household with people and you know that there are people there who have, this is the flip side of feeling sometimes you can be outnumbered. If you know you're also surrounded by fair people, there are fair people in your family, do check it out. Do check out an argument with someone else, because actually I found that really useful. Because I didn't want to be proved right. I just didn't want us to have a row. We were both going through so much. She was also really fair. She said, Dad, you've both gone through so much stress this Christmas. You've just got to let yourself off the hook a bit. And it was really needed. And I think we don't actually turn to our more grown-up children as often as we possibly could to just check in, because then they see a sort of vulnerability in you and a humanity.
Nobody knows us as well as
everything.
Yeah. But I think also, I think another thing that can just breed more and more resentment in a partnership is a sorry that is said without, you know, it's like the old thing of, isn't it, the flowers that are bought from the petrol station. It's like there's a shut up sorry.
Yeah.
And I think sorries should only be said when they're so deeply felt. And because I think sometimes when you're really not sorry, so like sometimes when we've had an argument, we've had to discuss, and I've thought, well, I've just got to agree to disagree. I'm not going to say sorry because I'm not sorry. And sometimes the negotiations have to be, well, you've got to say sorry. I hate a fake sorry. When I was a kid and me and my sisters used to argue, my mum used to do this thing where she would say, right, go to your rooms and you can't come out until you've said sorry. And I hated it. And I was like, I made myself this promise when I was a kid. I will never say sorry because someone's told me to say sorry. So if I say sorry to somebody, I really mean it. I never do like polyfiller sorry, because I actually think it's a really important word. I think it's got far more importance than people actually allow for. People bandy it about like love too easily. And it's like, so it's meaningless. So a sorry, if it's not felt, I much prefer no sorry and just a wound licking, two individual people wound lick. But like a fake sorry to just polyfiller always ends up cracking. Do you know what I mean? It's always like,
good analogy.
It does. It always ends up cracking up, you know. And so I like to think of mine more as a silicone sorry. So it actually does heal myself and the other person, because there's a really good feeling that comes from really genuinely being sorry and really.
So you only like a titanium sorry?
A titanium, or don't give me one. I mean, my God, when we first.
Can I give you one and give you a titanium sorry?
Well, your sorries, I would think I hate him. I literally hate him more than I did at the beginning.
I'm not going to apologise. Look, I grew up around, and in fact, I was reminded of this the other day. My mum says sorry all the time.
I hate it.
And it does, Mum, don't stop it. It does
sorry.
render.
Sorry.
Nothing's happened or nothing's suddenly everyone feels a bit kind of weird. Sarah D, I just want to read this. I'm called hard-faced, but I grew up watching my mum do everything and always said to myself, I will never have that relationship. I think so much of how we present in a relationship is all about us either trying to rectify. I mean, I'd say a huge amount of what makes me a good dad is trying to rectify parenting that went a little bit awry for me.
Yeah, that's where we learn.
So we react in a good way, but sometimes we can inherit if not the behavior of our parents, but we can inherit the familiarity of our responses.
The anxiety.
So, so I know that you're absolutely, Nadia, I mean, when I look back in, I had some anxiety this morning, but when I go back through anxiety, it very much is tied into the familiarity of it. It feels familiar, and therefore I need to sit in that place. And actually, it's about breaking those habits, isn't it? A lot of it's habit form. And Lee Durrant also just said a moment ago, you have sort of regret about perhaps not having worked harder in other relationships. I think it's really important. I hope that's why us talking like this is useful, because if I had one thing I'd like to say to more people is actually give more not if you're in an abusive, dangerous, clearly poisonous and toxic relationship.
Get out.
Sometimes that's hard to actually identify. But if you're not, and you feel it's in essence this person's good, I do think everyone needs to think about working at things a little bit more. Because great things do come to you. If you
sometimes like these shows like Married at First Sight and all of this, and we just see people just like that, you just think, oh my God, there's not a hope in hell. And then they stick with it and they work through it and they do. And I think there is something in that, but it is getting that balance. You have to have two people that want to work at it. If there's only one, and many marriage guidance counsellors say they can see it from the minute somebody walks in. They can see. If somebody is done, really, really done, it's very, very difficult. But I was really done on a couple of times.
Yeah, and I was actually during the menopause. I mean, I just thought, fuck me, I didn't know what to do. I knew, I'm not saying that I hadn't historically made mistakes, but at that moment, there was a moment back there where I looked at it and I thought, I've got literally no logical way out of this. I'm trying to do this, and none of it is working. I don't know what to do.
But the thing is, just because one person's made mistakes doesn't mean they don't have the right to feel the mistakes of the other person. Do you know what I mean? That's the other thing.
I've had a number of relationships where I am forever living in the shadow of a bad mistake, or oh my God.
Women well,
can destroy.
I've got something really interesting on that, which we're going to do, a metaphysical reason for that. that we're going to do on our podcast. It's really interesting.
What was the other thing I was going to say? I've completely forgotten it. I do want to play this. We're just going to move some up now because we've been on for an hour. But this was just really funny. This is about sleep. Please, I've forgotten the name of this. People here might know who this is. He's a comedian. He does sketches. He's very good. Okay, sorry. Couples that stay together, says Sarah D, through PND or anxiety depression are some of the bloody strongest couples are. Oh, you know what the depths are. What I wanted to say, Sarah, you do, thanks for reminding me, was your thing about you need to want to make it work. I would say the same idea is baked into getting sober. I think the difference between those who do get sober and don't get sober, not in all cases, because for some it's just impossible because you can't break from the chains of the substance. But when I say you need to want it so badly, you have to need to want it so badly.
You have to.
Otherwise, you just can't do it.
Yeah. Lucy Williams, I definitely have regret over past relationships. I know I got it wrong last time, but by the time I'd found myself properly, the damage was already done. We're still very close as friends, though. Oh, how lovely, Lucy. Nice. And that's the thing. Like, if you are going to break up, you know, the thing is, I think if you've got two really unhappy people and you've got children, I just don't think you should stay together for the children. But I do feel very strongly, and I do judge people that can't do this. You have to do everything in your power to make your child believe that you are still friendly with that other person, whatever you think, because the damage that is caused by that goes on and on and on forever. And we've got a friend that does it so beautifully, and it's just such a joy to watch, to have to see the communication that still goes on between her and her ex, and the way her children are so happy around that. It's so important. And I think every relationship you came out, like even Lucy there, see a little bit of alarm bells went off for me for you when you went, I got it wrong. No one person gets it wrong. No. And so it is about looking with, like, what is it they say in sobriety, with not brutal honesty, it's something else. Fearless. Do a fearless inventory of your part in something. Fearless. Because even when we make excuses for the other person, we are not fearless at that point. When we fearlessly look at what, you don't have to share it with anybody. No. I've fearlessly looked at some stuff that I will never tell anybody where I think my part was, because it's for me to work on in myself, deep in myself. So be fearless and really brutal with, was I really... Come on, what were you? What was the game you were playing there? What was that? Of course, that's very difficult if you've been in a relationship where there's been a bit of brainwashing going on as well, because that coercive control thing is so insidious and can be. So I think we never did this. We went from one relationship to another. If I had my time again, and the way that I support my daughters when they have had breakups is to do everything in your power to not go straight to somebody else, to try and do that fearless inventory so that you learn for the next one. It's really good advice. Jen Na, I think we need to be able to separate and acknowledge and be sorry for unintended hurt as the result of our actions versus our actions which we might think are justified or necessary or reasonable. Intended hurt. Yeah, I think, sometimes when you can hurt someone unintentionally versus someone who intentionally. Yes, and that's with that fearless inventory where you say, did I do that on purpose? Or did I really not know it was going to have that much of an impact? And how would I skew that next time so that I don't mess up in the same way? You're going to mess up in a different way. Every relationship I've been in, I've messed up in a different way from the time before. Exactly. A new and fresh way. Zoe, sounds silly, but not silly at all, Zoe. But having a narcissistic parent has affected my relationships. I feel so undeserving of a new relationship. Well, you know, Zoe, of course, that's understandable. Thank you, Lee. You know, and but again, there is so much help online with that, and so much discussion around narcissistic parents that we didn't even know the word narcissistic parent when we were growing up. So, you know, just absorb that. Join a group. There are groups now about narcissistic parents. There's a group called CODA, which is like AA and CA, Codependency Anonymous.
I've been to a couple of them.
And you said they're so painful, aren't they?
So
because
painful.
the stories in there, and it could be somebody who's had a narcissistic parent or had
codependency isn't just between people who feel they love. It's about an unhealthy connection and an unhealthy binding,
an unhealthy need to have somebody else, and then it's very difficult because you're vulnerable to people that will abuse that. So it's like, you want to have a healthy dependence on somebody, not one that your whole life depends on it. And that often comes if you've had a really insecure childhood where somebody's made you feel worthless or has left you feeling like they could leave you at any minute. That can often cause codependency. It's CODA, C-O-D-A.
Yeah. Lee Dorrance saying, thanks for this. A great topic. We should flip this into a How to Stay Married. I don't know what it would be called. But
I've got something we can work on.
Okay. All right. Well, look, guys, we need to check out because we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes.
Shall we have the little girl?
We'll have the little girl, but can we have the little girl after this guy? Because I think you'll find him very funny. This guy is hysterical.
How many cups of coffee a day do you have?
Just put one.
So one.
11.
What did you have for dinner last night?
4 cheese pizza, can of Fanta, blue raspberry vape, and a tangerine.
What are you doing before bed?
TV.
How long for?
6 hours.
Are you watching something relaxing?
Shows about murderers, stalkers, kiddie fiddlers.
When you get in bed, you go straight to sleep.
Me and my girlfriend, we lay back to back, 45 minutes scrolling. Videos. Tiger attacks tourist. Bear gets hit by rock and falls off cliff. Maybe some GK Barry. Can't sleep.
What do you think that is?
Do you think it's a tangerine?
That's fantastic.
Isn't he great? He's the same one who was taken hostage by Dermot O'Leary.
Oh, I've got to follow him. What's his name? People want to follow him.
Let me find his name.
Put the little girl on.
Yeah, whilst you watch this.
She's so cute. I love this family.
So good.
This woman, she's such a great mum.
If I'm eating this is going away.
What is this is going away?
Yeah, vaccination.
Vaccination pain?
Yeah.
If you're eating what?
Cupcake.
Acha, if you're eating cupcake, the vaccination pain is going. Oh my god, I didn't know that that's the remedy, Anu.
What will happen if you eat
If she's eating cupcake, no, so that pain is going, is it?
Yes, it goes off, no baby? Yeah, now see, now do like this, do you like? See, no pain. Do left leg. See, no pain at all. No pain, no baby. Yeah, do like this. Like this, see? No pain.
No pain, Hare. Cupcake is doing magic.
No pain.
Working wonders.
But now, after you finish this cupcake, will pain return?
No, it will go off, no?
It will go off, no?
Okay, acha. Yana, if you eat cupcake without sprinklers, will the pain go? Acha, with sprinklers you have to eat.
She has clarity.
Okay.
She has clarity.
You eat.
Is it nice? Is it taste good? How is it? Can you tell me?
Oh my god, she's adorable.
Follow her because she's great. This mum, she sets up all these situations, and she'll get like a bit annoyed or whatever. The little girl, she go, use your words, use your words. And I thought, God, I wish I'd been a bit more like that.
Yes.
And then she comes back, little girl, and she's so eloquent. She's, I mean, you think she's speaking at least 2 languages. I don't know, maybe even 3. She's
so
adorable.
this person is. Let me just get his name. This person is. He's very good, isn't he? This person is Josh Ball, B-A-U-L-F. Josh Ball. And this is another one where he's used a face AI to be an old person, an old relative at Christmas. This is hysterical. Check this out.
7. You got a job? I won't have the roast, no, I'll just have a sandwich. When I was a girl, I was having a bit of shin out, made you a slag. Anyway, come here, happy Christmas. Oh, I won't have room for all of that, no. Claire had a Chinese the other night. Seen it all now. No, I won't join in the charades, I'll watch, yeah. You know you don't have to sit with me, love, you can go in the other room, yeah. Here, I'll take that, don't tell your mum. Pick you something up from the charity shop, yeah. It's Lionel Richie's autobiography, 1997, yeah. Have you seen Linda's got a smart TV? It's getting late, it's time I go home, yeah. It's 5:45 p.m, it's way past my bedtime. Listen, I will not hear a bad word said about Jimmy Savile. Oh, that's beautiful, that is. What you got there? Hand cream, yeah.
You know, I was thinking would be really good at this.
Good.
Dina.
Josh Ball.
Dina, my sister would be brilliant because she's so good at accents and stuff. She should do those filter characters.
No. I mean,
and Maddie would be brilliant.
Every one of his, I literally went down a wormhole. He did a load over Christmas. Let me give you one more. Just one more. This is Josh Balfe. Josh Balfe. Please follow him and tell him why. Tell him where she's next to me. Tell him where you followed him from because he's just so fucking funny. Check this one. Last one.
Box fizz. Who says box fizz?
Oh, you shouldn't have. A big bottle of beer.
Wow. It's got a fibre sellotape to it.
Thank you. Socks. Again. Thought because John Lewis said it might be different.
You put that in the black bin bag.
Ah, what you got there?
Collection box.
Oh,
that's great.
Pass it around so everyone can have a look.
You got to stay with me now. I won't be here much longer. I just want to die. I want to die in my own bed. Anyway, happy Christmas out there.
So Emma's coming over later. I remember she's a lesbian now. Oh, mine's got a whispering like that. Work alright, is it? It's alright, yeah. Yeah? Yeah, same. Yeah. What's your commute like? What's that, a Labubu? Oh, when I was a kid, we had Furbies.
I'm going to go see my mum.
Yeah, sure. Is it me or is the turkey a bit dry?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Why does Santa have no kids? Because he only comes once a year. Oh, who bought these?
A book. 2 words. And Frank.
So you want what? 6 beans? I mean, you're gunk master.
What?
Yeah.
No, he's the radioactive cat.
Why can't you play Monopoly?
Josh, we're going to rewatch Kevin and Stacey for the 12th time.
That's it. Christmas is cancelled. I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it. I won't do it next year. No, I will not do it.
Do you want a bucks fizz?
Oh yeah, thanks, love. Yeah.
He's cracking.
He's very funny. Okay, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you tomorrow. And the last
Please hit the
vlog was
subscribe button.